Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Barry, and today we're going to be talking about Mera, the next legendary to go through, this is the one that's on the third continent that has Skyfalls and Slumbering City. There isn't much to preface this time around, as there was with the last one, so we'll just get right into it and scroll all the way down. Well, not all the way, because it's not very far. Down to Mera. Here we are. So here's the Evo 1. Very cool. Evo 2, also very cool. And the Evo 3 as well. Very cool. The interesting thing about Mera, in my opinion, is the color scheme for fire. Normally, just looking at even just the ones that are on the screen near Mera, we can see they're all red. Whereas Mera is mostly white in its color. Sorry, had to pause for a moment. People were making quite a bit of noise outside my room, and I was worried that the mic would pick it up. Anyway, I do think it's very interesting that the color scheme for Fire Mera is dominantly white, whereas the rest of the Fire Mons, for the most part, are dominantly red. But we go to the variant, and we see it's a similar color scheme to the rest of the Fire Mons that are variant, how it goes to a bit of a pinkish, reddish color. So that's just something that I wanted to mention. But anyway, looking at the stats, Fire Mera is an attacker, has an alright attack stat, good HP, and its defense is okay. Nothing special there. Looking at the skills, so first off, the leader skill, we have Grace of Life, HP increase 30 to 35%. Very nice. Of course, it's for general content, so all content. Very nice, no limits there. Looking at the 3-star, we have Stalker by 30%, and then skill books make it 50% and give a 10% damage boost. Then 5-star is HP Siphon, greatly restores own HP, and skill books give a 20% damage boost there. So first off, before I say where you can use it, I do want to mention that it's very held back, Mera, because one, Stalker doesn't pair well with pretty much any other skill. We've seen this most extreme example. We saw this when Wood Chloe was first introduced. She started off being, I think it was Stalker on 3-star, and then Hunter on 5-star. And it doesn't make sense to combine Stalker with any other skill, especially Hunter. Because with Stalker, you're going to gem your Mon with Stalker in mind, so that you don't need a full crit rate gem. You just want to get your crit rate from substats. But with Stalker only being on one skill, that means you're not going to have a high enough crit rate on your other skill. So with skill books, Mera will have a 50% crit rate from Stalker, and then 60% base because of the 10% base that it already has. So it'll have a 60% crit rate without gems being taken into account for its 3-star. So you won't put any crit rate gem on it, you'll just get that extra 40% from substats. And then, on your 5-star though, you won't have that 50% boost from Stalker, so you'll only have a 50% crit rate total for the 5-star. So the skills don't mesh well. When a Mon has Stalker, it's best if they have double Stalker. Just wanted to mention that. But Mera is still pretty useful either way. It's just held back by the fact that Stalker doesn't go well with other skills. But where you can use it, for one, PvP offense, it's still pretty good there. It'll do decent damage with its Stalker, especially because it'll be easy to gem and it won't crit. And it will crit because of the Stalker. Then with its 5-star in PvP, while it won't crit as often because its crit rate will definitely be lower, it'll still do decent damage just because it'll have a decent attack stat. And then, of course, he'll heal himself. Then, also, you can use it for farming. With a Siphon set, I don't think it would be that great, just because, of course, its 5-star isn't a damage dealing or damage boosting skill, and also it doesn't heal the team. If it did either of those things, then yeah, I would probably recommend a Siphon set, but this would probably be better for farming stages where you just want it to use its 3-star often, where you don't expect it to get its bar full. So say like story stages that you expect to kill the waves quickly before you even get your bars full anyway, it'll be alright there, I guess. Then you can use it for GB9 and DB8 just as a fire attacker. Again, I don't know if I'd recommend a Siphon set just because, one, it's not a damage boosting skill, and then also it only heals itself. If the HP Siphon was like something like we have with Light Snowy or I think Dark Canna or something like that that healed the team, then a Siphon set would be great. Even if you don't build it with max crit rate, it'll still have 50% crit rate if you get that 40% from subs. So it'll still do some decent damage and still heal the team decently, but unfortunately it only heals itself, so it's pretty limited there. How I would gem it though, I'd probably go most likely triple attack or attack crit damage with making sure you get that 40% from subs and just take advantage of the Stalker on its 3-star and use it for PvP offense. That's most likely what I would do if I used a Fire Mera, and then I'd only use its 5-star if it got like super low and I didn't have a healer with me or my healer didn't have orbs or whatever. If I had it with a Water Persephone, maybe I wanted to use the Petrification that turn if she got her bar full, something like that. But very rarely would you want it for its 5-star. You'd really just want it for its 3-star. But anyway, let's go on to water. So here's the regular form and the variant. I like the variant more, I think. I just like all the blues. Looking at the stats, it is a balanced type, and it has pretty good attack and defense. Its HP is a little bit low, but it's nothing crazy. It's nothing terrible. Looking at the skills, we have Seal, 60% 2 turns, as skill books make it 70%, give a 20% damage boost, and then on 5-star we have Defense down, 70% 2 turns, skill books make it 80% and give a 15% damage boost. Where you'd use it, the only place I can really see Water Mera being used at all is PvP defense. Just because Seal doesn't really have any other use outside of PvP. So that's why it's a bit limited in where you can use it. The defense down is okay, so maybe you can use it in Titans as a defense down mon. But by the time you're able to catch Mera, you would already have good defense down mons for your Titan team, so it's really not needed. I should mention that I am going to be a little bit more, what's the word? A little bit more strict, I guess, with Meras, just because it's going to be a little while in the game until you can actually get them. So yeah, PvP defense is really the only place I'd recommend using Water Mera. And even there, it's not super great just because it still has a very low activation rate. But if you do want to use it, I'd build it HP defense just to make it as tanky as possible so it can spread its seal as much as it can, and then the defense down being AoE is still alright there. Yeah. Also, I should mention, Water Mera is useful for fusion. I believe it's in the Dark Merlin tree. Yeah, it's the Dark Merlin tree that it's in. So, even if you don't end up building one, I'd recommend getting one to Evo 3 so you can get your Dark Merlin. But anyway, here we have wood. Here's the regular and the variant. Very interesting variant that it has. Normally the wood variants go to like an orangish color. This one goes white, which is refreshing. But I still like the regular one more. It just looks cooler in my opinion. It is a tank, has a decent HP. Its attack is okay, but its defense is very low. Looking at its skills though, it has Fatigue, 80%, 3 turns. Skill books make it 90% and give a 20% damage boost. Then on 5-star we have Thirst, 80% chance to lower by 30% for 2 turns. And skill books give a 25% damage boost there. So, before I mention where you can use it, I do want to mention that while its Thirst is actually very good, like its Thirst is AoE, so AoE Thirst is good. Single target Thirst, not so much, but AoE is good. And its rates are good, and it lowers by a very high amount. But Fatigue is pretty much the worst skill in the game. There's absolutely no point in the game where you're going to want to use Fatigue. So having fatigue really, really limits wood Mera by a lot. Um, Even if it was double thirst, that would be a lot better. But unfortunately, that's not the case. You can still use it for PvP defense, though. The fatigue isn't going to help, but once it gets its bar full, it'll be able to spread its thirst, which is very nice because attacking teams don't usually have that much high resist, which is good. The fatigue can help with that too if the attacking team doesn't have a mon that can like progress the SP bar, or like an SP battery or something like Light Succubus, Dark Sparket, something like that, or any morale boosters at all. So fatigue can kind of help with that, you know, because again, they don't have that high resist, so your fatigue is most likely to land, and they won't get orbs from the, or they won't get anything out of the orbs that are generated. But either way, fatigue still isn't that great. So there isn't really much purpose to build a wood Mera other than to fill the guide. Now, anyway, we're on to light, and I should mention that light and dark Mera at the time of recording this video are currently unobtainable. So, of course, we cannot get them, and also I cannot let you get. I can't say anything about skillbook values because nobody knows their. Unless you go into the code of the game, which I don't know how to do, but unless you do that, you won't be able to figure out their skillbook values. So, just wanted to mention that before we go into it. But anyway, here's the regular and the variant. I like the variant just because the purple, you know, I know it's mostly white, but the purple is very nice. But anyway, stat-wise, it is a defender and has a very good HP stat, low attack, but its attack doesn't matter too much. And its defense is a little bit lower than I'd like. I normally like defenders to have at least 3k, but it's not that far below that. So it's still pretty good. Still pretty good. Anyway, looking at the skills, it is a defender. And looking at the skills, it has defense aggression, is what I meant to say, on its 3-star. Again, I can't say skill books, but it would only be damage based. So there's that. And then on 5-star, we have Seal, 60% 2 turns, which is a pretty okay rate just because it is AoE, and hopefully skillbooks would give it at least like 20% higher chance to activate. That'd be very nice. But there's not much to say about it in terms of skillbooks, so can't really talk about its Seal too much. But how I would build it, just triple defense like any other defense aggressor. You'd want to build it full defense gems, and then have some really strong resist and crit rate subs, so it can do as much damage, and then you can avoid getting it stun locked. Where you would want to use it, PvP, is really the only place I can see it being viable, just because the Seal. If it was double defense aggression, then maybe you could use it for other places, like farming, or as a light attacker for Titans until you get CS and Unflinching Strike Mons, but because of that Seal, it's really limited to only PvP. So there is that for light, and then let's move on to dark, the last of the Mera, and yeah, so here we are. Here's the regular, and the variant. The variant looks very cool. I like the variant a lot. Looking at the stats, it is a tank, has a really strong HP stat, a decent defense, and its attack is low, but that's doesn't matter too much. Looking at the skills, so on 3-star, it has recovery down, 80% 2 turns. And then on 5-star, we have sleep, 100% 1 turn. So, first, I do want to mention, we'll talk about the recovery down first, which makes it usable for Light Colossus. So it's actually a very good recovery down mon for that. It probably, I'm not sure. I don't remember Light Bulby's activation rates. But anyway, excluding Light Bulby, it might have the best recovery down in the game, so it is usable for Light Colossus. But also you got to keep in mind that it does take extra damage being a Dark Mon, so there's that. But it also deals extra damage as well, so there's that to keep in mind. And then the sleep is interesting, because it is AoE and it is 100%, so you can probably try to build it offensively and use it in like PvP The recovery down won't do pretty much anything, but the sleep would be pretty nice. Just being an offensive sleep mon, and this is hopefully like skill books make it sleep 2 turns. That'd be amazing. But even so, the free crit that you get from sleep is very nice. So you can use a team that is high attack but low crit rate and still be able to get free crits from that AoE sleep. So there's that to keep in mind. But by the time they release Dark Mera, if they ever do make it available, you're probably not going to need it at all. It's like not even for light colossus, because by then you'll probably be able to just light nuke the light colossus. Dark nuke the colossus. Because if they do bring it around, I assume it would be in fusion, just because that's the only way we can get like light and dark Anubis is through fusion. So I'd assume they do the same with Mera, and then as well as the other legendaries. So yeah, that's really all. Well, and Mammon too. I forgot Mammon is also in the fusion for its light and dark. But anyway, that's going to be all for the Dark Mera. Oh, how I would build it. You can just build it like completely tanky and put it on your defense team. So like HP defense or HP defense. And the recovery down, again, won't really help. But once it gets Barful, the sleep is going to be annoying for your opponent. So there's that. But if you want to go like a more offensive method, which you can just go like triple attack or something like that, just to capitalize on his 100 crit damage, and it's the free crit it gets from sleep. So there's that. How I would prioritize all the Meras though, which honestly, none of them really shine anywhere. The places that I've mentioned you can use them, they're usable there, but they don't do very well. Out of all the legendaries, I'd say Mera is probably the most underwhelming, if I'm to be completely honest. But anyway, to prioritize them, Light would be first because both of its skills are usable in PvP, so it does have the most use with that. Then next I would make Fire because it does have 2 skills that are at least good for an attacker. Then like Water, its skills are decent together, but not great. So I put it third. Fourth, I'd put Dark just because it's 3-star. While recovery down isn't that great, it still has a use with the light colossus, whereas the 3-star for wood is completely useless pretty much anywhere. So wood is last, definitely. But yeah, that's gonna be it for the Mera video. I'll have a Mamont one coming up next, since it is the next legendary for all the continents or whatever. Well, yeah. Anyway, so like, comment, subscribe, all that. Hit the bell, whatever. If you want, you can do that. And have yourselves a good day. I'll see you guys all in the next video.